You know, there's been numerous major wrestling federations that had their own belts over the years. The WWF, the WWWF, the WWE, WCW, NWA, the myriad of promotions like AWA, regional federations including Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling. But today we're going to be talking about a part of history where a lot of people either don't want to remember or has never heard of. We're taking the majority of this information from our good friends at ProWrestlingHistoricalSociety.com, and we're going to be talking about the WWF, or the WWWF, World Martial Arts Championships. Now, in 1975, the World Wide Wrestling Federation, at the time operated by Vince McMahon Sr., Vince, obviously Vince Jr.'s father, began a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan, similar to the WWF, was a relatively new promotion in the sense that it sprouted from a more established entity before it. Now, the WWF was expanded from the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, which it would rejoin throughout the majority of the 1970s, and New Japan Pro Wrestling from the Japanese Wrestling Association. Now, New Japan's founder and feature attraction, of course, was the great Antonio Inoki, who made his first appearance with the WWF on December 13, 1975 at MSG. Later, in January 1978, the WWF reinstated the WWF Junior Heavyweight title after being inactive for 6 years. The championship was soon claimed by New Japan talent Tatsumi Fujinami at MSG, and from there out primarily defended in Japan as a way of strengthening ties between the two corporations. That same year, WWF's relationship with New Japan continued to grow as the WWF Championship was defended in Japan for the first time by both superstar Billy Graham and later Bob Backlund. Toward the end of the year, on December 18th, Inoki made his second appearance at MSG, his first in over 3 years. During this appearance, Inoki was presented the WWF World Martial Arts Heavyweight title for his achievement to raise the valuation of pro wrestling through the matches against fighters of other sports, largely in reference to his infamous clash with Muhammad Ali a year and a half previously, which we talked about in a previous podcast on our channel. Now, Japan has a very rich cultural and historical ties with martial arts. While the concept of mixed martial arts only took off within the U.S. with the rise of UFC in the 1990s, it is ingrained within the Japanese culture. Judo is even taught in Japanese public schools, making it a concept the Japanese crowds understand, relate to, and respect very much. Now, the Inoki background in the sport already had a strong level of martial arts, taught by the legendary Karol Gotch in the art of hooking and shooting, which is a submission-based form of freestyle and Greco-Roman amateur wrestling. Now, the roots of this can be traced back to post-American Civil War traveling carnival scenes, and before that to England and France, respectively. Inoki routinely fought practitioners of varying martial arts backgrounds, including boxers, judokas, karachas, kung fu practitioners, sumos, and wrestlers. Though the bouts were mostly but not completely predetermined, they broke ground and led the way to the modern mixed martial arts. Some of Inoki's opponents, including undisputed boxing heavyweight champion Leon Spinks, who defeated Ali in 1978, top German heavyweight boxer Karl Mildenberger, who also fought Ali, and celebrated Pakistani wrestler Akram Pelwan, who suffered a severe arm break in the match. What could be called a precursor in both lineage of spirit to the championship can be found in the NJPW Real World Martial Arts Championship, of which the only records state that the championship was originally created to be determined by the infamous Ali Inoki bout of June 1976. Initially, the bout was to be tightly scripted, a dramatic exhibition, but with tension and nerves mounting, Ali backed out of the arrangement, and the bout was set to be a legitimate contest. Unfortunately for Inoki, with only days until the match, Ali would only agree to continue if these terms were accepted. This severely limited Inoki's offensive capabilities to the point of handicapping his grappling and striking options. But with the amount of money Inoki and New Japan's financial backers are riding on the contest, he had no choice but to oblige. Now, the fight ended in a lackluster 15-round draw, where Inoki literally was crawling around on his back like a crab, throwing leg kicks at Ali, which caused severe hematomas, and according to published reports, almost caused him to get massive blood loss and vein problems. Now, later that year in Japan, he successfully defended a real world martial arts title against Andre Giant and Willem Ruska, with both victories via referee decision. Now, after the creation of the Martial Arts Championship, it seems that New Japan's real-world martial arts title was dissolved. However, Inoki did defend the WWF version on a card, which research indicates was titled Real World Martial Arts Championship. Now, the WWF Martial Arts title was very similar to the WWF North American Heavyweight Championship that preceded it, which was created in 1979, and seemingly with the intention of giving a young Ted DiBiase more of a foothold with the Northeast crowds. It also bore a strong likeness with the WWF United States title, which preceded it from 63 to 77, and it was essentially Bobo Brazil's way of maintaining credibility in New York. At this point, wrestling fans were conditioned to see Japanese foreigners as villains, despite being nearly 40 years removed from the attacks of Pearl Harbor. So the WWF World Martial Arts title was likewise created in 1978 to give credibility and American appeal to NJPW's founder and perennial headliner, Inoki. Now, the same night Inoki was awarded the title, he made his first defense against the Mass Texas Red, which was longtime ring veteran Red Bastian, in a standard pro wrestling match. Following that, the championship was defended in what would be most accurately be described today as mixed martial arts exhibition matches, which is to say that the outcomes appear to be largely predetermined. In Japan, the bouts typically include round systems in play, as well as legitimate combat art rules, such as downed opponents having to answer to a 10 count, or else losing via TKO. The championship was also defended in standard pro wrestling match rules, mostly during its few defenses in the States with the WWF. Records indicate that the championship was seldom defended. Now, on February 6, 1979, in Osaka, Inoki defeated Mr. X in round 3. Now, on April 3rd, 1979, in Miyagi, Japan, Inoki defeated Left Hook Mike Dayton, who was a renowned Kochiken King Kung Fu powerlifting and bodybuilding practitioner, who was also known for his Chi Mind Control course. Now, the ads for the match feature graphic photos of him breaking handcuffs and hanging himself. The fight ended at the 125 mark of round 6 via TKO. Now, October 5th, 1979, NJPW in Seoul, Inoki defeated William Ruska, which was a Dutch judoka and a 1970 Olympic gold medalist, at 15:06. Now, this fight had no round system. Now, on December 13, 1979, in Kyoto, Inoki defeated Kim Cloquid in round 3 via KO. On February 2nd, 1980, in Tokyo, Inoki fought William B. Williams, who was a Kochiken black belt and karate world champion, to a draw in round 4. Now, in July 2034, in the brawl to settle it all on MSG, Inoki defeated Charlie Fulton, who was a professional wrestling journeyman, at 4:10. Now, on December 12, 1984, at MSG, Inoki defeated Dr. Death David Schultz at 5:17. Now, as the WWF moved away from the territory system of working alongside fellow promotions and into the national and soon global spotlight, they ended their business arrangement with New Japan in 1985. The newly renamed NJPW World Martial Arts Championship was not defended again until February 24, 1989 in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome, where in the main event of New Japan's first event there, Inoki was defeated by the championship for the first and only time in its history by Russian judoka and 72 Olympic gold medalist Shoto Coach Isavili, when he failed to answer a 10 count in round 5. Now, Shoto wore a traditional judokai, and the ropes were removed from the ring prior to the contest. Inoki would have a rematch with him a little over a month later on March 27 in Osaka, where Inoki won via KO in round 2. Now, the total defense of the title was 9 times by 2 different title holders under the banner of the WWF and the WWF and finally New Japan, not including the 3 championship matches for the NJPW Real World Martial Arts Championship in 1976. It was formally introduced and first defended December 1878 in MSG in New York City, and last defended on May 25th, 89 in Osaka. Now, later in 1990, during the 13th anniversary of Inoki's 30th anniversary of Inoki's career, NJPW created the Greatest 18 Club, a Hall of Fame led by founder Lou Thesz. NJPW then introduced the Greatest 18 Club Championship, was intended to complement the IWGP Heavyweight title, New Japan's top championship at the time. Now, while this did not hold the same lineage as the World Martial Arts Championship, it did use the same physical championship belt, though never officially recognized as such by New Japan. The championship was awarded to Riki Koshu in 1990, who lost it to the Great Buddha in 92. The Greatest 18 Championship was later abandoned on September 23rd of that year in order for Muta to focus on IWGP Heavyweight Championship title defenses. Now, both the championship and the title belt were subsequently officially retired by New Japan Pro Wrestling. So, Inoki, I think a grand total of 4,000 days, which technically is probably one of the longest total lineages in WWF and WWF history. But Inoki was a real deal. Like I said, he could take you out, but he was a very smart businessman. I think the only bad decision he did was when Bad News Bears go to Japan. Has to be seen to believe. So that's the story of Antonio Inoki with the WWF World Martial Arts Heavyweight title. If you like what you're doing here with our vintage podcast, let us know. If you're a fan of Inoki, let us know. I'm a fan of his because Ali called him the Pelican, and let me tell you something. That jaw, you could... strong man. Only Tiger Jeet Singh could really sum it up. He said, when I saw Inoki, I was scared to get too close because I thought his jaw would cut me. No joke. Thanks for listening. Bye.